My name is Jeremy Walton, and this is my car mounted hyperlapse. Let's go! All right, it's been a minute since I posted a video. I've been busy, but if you watched my video, The Truth About ND Filters, then you know what this is. I said there's a reason why I have it, and it's called a hyperlapse. When I mount my camera to my car, it's a car-mounted hyperlapse. And you may have seen this in my video, 3 things you should be doing as a filmmaker. Here's an example, and today I'm gonna show you how I do it. Before we get started though, I want to clarify the definition of a hyperlapse. A hyperlapse is like a time-lapse, but with a broader range of motion. In a time-lapse, the camera is usually in a fixed position or moving a short distance. We usually see that in something like a motorized slider. Now what I'm doing with my car-mounted hyperlapse, some might consider a time-lapse, but we're covering a great distance, and that's why I lean towards hyperlapse. Comment below if you disagree so we can argue about it. Second thought, don't do that. But comment below so I can hear your thoughts or your definitions. The second thing I want to mention is workflow, and this is something I will bring up a lot. What I'm going to show you is one way of doing something, and what you're going to have to ask yourself is what workflow works best for you. For example, a hyperlapse being used in a national commercial that only lasts 30 seconds might be dramatically different than a hyperlapse being used in a 10-minute vlog on YouTube. How important and how much time you spend on it will all factor into the workflow you choose. You know, I think you'll get what I'm talking about when we start the process of a hyperlapse. The first thing you'll need is a camera. I'll be using my Panasonic GH5. It's a perfect camera for this, but if you don't have one, don't worry. Most of what I talk about will work on any camera. I'll also be using the Voigtlander Nocton 17.5. You'll want to stay on the wider side so you can really capture what's happening around you. You could go wider if you want, but I'm not a huge fan of wide-angle lenses, so this works for me. On that lens will be my Tiffen XLE Series Long Exposure APEX, and by now you should know what it can do. One of the most important things you will also need if you want to do a car-mounted hyperlapse is the Matthews suction pump with camera mount. This thing sucks, in a good way. It easily attaches to your camera, and with a few pumps, attaches to your car. You'll need a smooth, clean surface, so you can't go wrong with a sunroof. By the way, everything I mention here, I'll put a link in the description. Now, what I'm sure you've all been waiting for, the settings. You'll want to be in manual mode. No auto settings for this. On the GH5, you'll click over to the time-lapse function. It's on the left knob, and you'll turn it all the way to the right. Now click right here to bring up the settings for the time-lapse shot. The 2 options you'll have to consider are shooting interval and image count. Shooting interval is dependent on what you're shooting. I'll be driving on the freeway going 70 miles per hour, so my shooting interval will be 1 second. People walking, 3 seconds, slow moving clouds, maybe 5 seconds. But remember, these are all suggestions. I suggest testing them for yourself and choosing what you like. Image count is pretty simple. If we look at video as 24 frames per second, that means you need 24 pictures to create 1 second in video. So if you want a 10-second hyperlapse, you multiply that by 24 and you'll need 240 pictures. Simple. If it's not so simple, there are plenty of online hyperlapse and time-lapse calculators if you need the help. For my situation, I really don't have a set time. Once I hit that shutter button, I jump in my car and I start driving. Now, I might encounter traffic, long lights, and detours. So I set my image count at 5,000, which is plenty of time. If you do that when you pull over and your camera is still clicking away, it's very simple. Just double tap the image counter and end your time lapse. It will ask you if you want to create a video. Stop right there. Make sure you hit no, because we want the raw photos and we will be creating the video ourselves. Speaking of raw, go into your menu and make sure quality is set to raw. This will give you the most options and flexibility in post, and that's what we want. You should also click on aspect ratio and make sure it's set to 16:9. This isn't cropping your image, it's just giving you the framing, and it helps me set the position of my camera when mounting it to the car. Okay, there's a few more settings we need to go over, which are aperture and shutter speed. The reason we use the Tiffen Apex filter is because it blocks 10 stops of light, which you'll need when shooting at a slow shutter speed. You might be used to your shutter speed being set to 1/50th of a second when shooting video, but our shutter speed will be set to 1/4 of a second. And if you don't have an ND filter, your image will be completely blown out. A slow shutter speed will also give you that nice motion blur that we want, which is something you won't get if we just speed up video. As for aperture, I usually have it set at an f8. Deep focus is your friend. Now these 2 settings can be adjusted depending on when you're shooting. I like mid-morning to afternoon because the sun is high enough in the sky so the lighting isn't drastically changing. When you have everything set up, make sure to plan your route ahead of time and know where you're going. Get ready for people to honk, wave, and try to ruin your shot. It happens. A lot. Drive normal, don't switch lanes too much. The middle lane is usually the best, but try not to follow the same car during the entire hyperlapse. Okay, now would be a good time to hit pause and go shoot your hyperlapse. Because right now, I need a break. I'm back and I feel good. I normally don't drink a lot of coffee, so whew. You ready? Let's continue. I hope everything went smoothly on your shoot. And now what you need to do is make 3 folders on your computer. Hyperlapse, Hyperlapse Lightroom, and Hyperlapse After Effects. If we head over into the Hyperlapse folder, the footage you shot will live here. And the next thing we'll do is head over to Lightroom. The first thing you need to do is import your footage. Go to Import, pick the drive you want, and click on the Hyperlapse folder you created. Now you can see all the footage you shot. Before you actually import, we do need to set up a few things first. You want to make sure you have copies selected because we will be moving on to a new folder. And as you can see right here, we have the Hyperlapse Lightroom folder selected. That's why I had you make it ahead of time. Gotta use this sometimes. So there's 2 things we're gonna do with the copied photos. I want you to check the rename files and under template, select custom name sequence. You can name it whatever you want. I'll just put hyperlapse and your start number will be 1. This will rename and renumber all your photos starting with 1, and you'll see why that's important later. Next, go over to the Apply During Import heading. Here, you wanna go down to Classic and choose Auto Settings. Okay, let me stop right here because this is a good example of workflow that I was talking about earlier. What this function will do is auto-correct my files, meaning it'll bump up my shadows, bring down my highlights, and give me a good baseline to start with. Normally I would do this manually, but with over 1,000 photos, it would take way too much time for what I'm using the hyperlapse for. Again, you have to decide how valuable your time is when developing your workflow. Plus, I have to say, Lightroom does a pretty good job. Now, all you need to do is hit import and play the waiting game. Done. Oh, damn it. So this is my little mascot. It's a little wolf I got. And we're done. So let's take a look at a photo. You can see Lightroom made some adjustments. And if we hit the reset button, this is what the original looks like, and with the auto settings. Not bad. Okay, let's Command Q and quit Lightroom. Open up our folder and look inside Hyperlapse Lightroom. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all the way up to 1,284. Just what we wanted. Hopefully that was easy and simple enough to follow along because we're not done yet. It's time for After Effects. If you've never used it before, just trust me and you'll be good to go. Once you open up After Effects, click New Composition. I'll just put Hyperlapse for the name. And for the preset, I'll be using UHD 4K 23.976. This is a 3840 by 2160 resolution. When I shoot video with my GH5, that's what I shoot in because it scales down to 1920 by 1080 without any cropping. And HD is also what I finish in. The raw pictures out of the camera will be at a higher resolution. This gives me the ability to adjust the image within the frame. I will also set our duration to 1 minute, then hit OK. All we need to do now is get our photos into After Effects. Right-click in the project panel, Import, File. Here's our Hyperlapse Lightroom folder and all of our pictures. Just click on the first picture and you can see Camera Raw Sequence has been checked. After Effects is smart enough to know what we're trying to do and why we renumbered the files in Lightroom. Let's open these up. Camera Raw will pop up, but we took care of this in Lightroom, so hit OK. Now just drag and drop into your sequence. What I want you to look at is our frame, and this is our photo that we can move around within the frame. What you can do is click this corner, hold down Shift, and scale down until the sides are pretty close. All you have to worry about now is the top and bottom. This part is really up to you. Just go through the sequence, see what works, and adjust accordingly. This is what I ended up with. It's pretty close to the original and works best throughout the hyperlapse. The other thing I do want to talk about is color correction. I'm not going to cover the steps here because that could be an entirely separate video. But whatever color correction or grading software you use, now would be the time to use it because we're still working with the raw files. The last thing we need to do is drag this slider to the end of our sequence. Then go up to File, Export, Add to Render Queue. Head over to the Output module and click Format Options. I use Apple ProRes 422 HQ. This serves two functions. One, it'll be my high quality master file, and two, we'll import this into Adobe Premiere, and since it's ProRes, we are good to go. The last thing is we just have to make sure we're saving this to our third folder, Hyperlapse After Effects. Hit that render button and we play the waiting game again. Nine feet. Oh, I got something. I got these movie trivia cards. It's really hard to open. Okay, first question. In the film Cocktail, what name do Brian and Doug intend to call their cocktail bar? If you know the answer, comment below. I already know the answer because I've seen this movie like 1,000 times. What can I say? I grew up in the 80s. And we're done. Now if we open up our folder, here's our beautiful hyperlapse. We're on the home stretch, so get ready to open Premiere. I started a new project called What Else? Hyperlapse. Now there's a few different ways to import footage, but I'm just gonna drag and drop and then throw it into the timeline. Add some music, trim it up, and you could have something like this. Wow, we made it, and hopefully you stuck with me until the end. You know, this really isn't as complicated as it might appear to be at first. I just wanted to give you as much information as I could. I mean, some of the stuff you might already know, and if not, once you do it a couple of times, you'll have it down. Like I said, this is my workflow I've developed that fits my needs. Maybe your needs are different, so pick what you like, pick what you don't. Creating and developing your style is what this is all about, and if I've helped in any way, perfect. Well, there you have it, my car-mounted hyperlapse. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button because there's more on the way. I definitely drank too much coffee, but as for this episode, it's a wrap. Testing. Tick tock, tick tock. It's the waiting game.